everyone. Today I want to discuss 5 unloving habits of Jehovah's Witnesses. When I said Jehovah's Witnesses, always remember I'm not speaking of individuals in any group. There may be some individuals that are not acting this way, okay? So I'm speaking as a group, as the religion of Jehovah's Witnesses. If you ask any Jehovah's Witness, they'll tell you they are the most loving group on the planet. There are no better people as a group as they are. So that's why I'm going to speak of them as a group today. They are actually not the most loving group on the planet, far from it. And I'm going to give you 5 examples for that. So I'm going to start at the bottom of the list. I'm going to start at number 5 and go all the way up to number 1. So here we go. Number 5, unloving habit of Jehovah's Witnesses. They do not believe in charity. Indeed, charity for Jehovah's Witnesses is distributing their watchtower literature, their organization's literature. That's charity to them. But there is no such thing as soup kitchen or anything like that. They do not feed people, they do not clothe people, they do not do anything else but their watchtower literature to people. A few months ago, I came across in one of those XJW groups, I came across a photo, a picture that really translated that very, very well. On the photo, you could see an African starving child sitting on the ground and someone handing him a watchtower. And the photo had also a comment on it, which I don't remember, but without even a comment, we understand what it means. Because for Jehovah's Witnesses, the new world is coming tomorrow. So whether you're hungry, whether you're cold, whether you need anything in this world right now, you do not really need it. What you really need is study the Bible with Jehovah's Witnesses so you'll be saved. And just like tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, you'll be in paradise earth. And guess what? If you're not, well, you'll be dead, so you won't need anything either. And believe me, that's really what Jehovah's Witnesses as a group, as a religion think. And that is why they do not have any charity. They do not participate in charity and they do not own any charity. Interestingly, the only time they offer some type of goods and help, it's when there is a natural disaster. In this case, some congregations will arrange to send goods, to send food and clothing, blankets, and things like that. But it's only to other Jehovah's Witnesses in that area of the world where they may be in need of emergency help of this type. But usually they don't extend that to non-Jehovah's Witnesses. As a matter of fact, as a proof that they're not used to extend that type of help to non-Jehovah's Witnesses, it's when 9/11 happened. Some people who had escaped this catastrophe somehow had ran across the Brooklyn Bridge. And right across the Brooklyn Bridge, well, there was the Watchtower Bethel. And some people had came in and the witnesses gave him, a glass of water, whatever, and gave him comfort and a temporary shelter for a few hours at Bethel. Well, guess what? I was still a Jehovah's Witness back then, and I knew personally plenty of Bethelites. On top of that, we heard it for a few months from the platform how Bethelites helped non-Jehovah's Witness. The reason why we heard it so much, it's because they were not used to that. They were not used to extend a hand, a helping hand to non-Jehovah's Witness. So we heard it. Oh my goodness, I heard it personally on a one-on-one discussion with some Bethelites that I knew, and I heard it many times from the platform. The reason why we heard it so many times is because they're sure not used to do that. So there you are, the number 5 unloving habit of Jehovah's Witnesses. They do not believe in charity, they do not participate in charity, and they do not own any charity. Their only charity is distributing the Watchtower literature. Number 4, they break up families. Now, before you tell me in the comments down below this video that this is not true, blah, 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 let me tell you something. I know personally about half a dozen cases, okay, where that happened. And even if I didn't, it happened to me and my family. This type of thing happens even more to people who become Jehovah's Witnesses as adults, which is what happened to me and my family. Myself, my mother, my brother, and my aunt, we became Jehovah's Witnesses as adults. But the rest of the family didn't. We were the only ones. Well, it did. It did put a distance between us and the rest of the family. Even the rest of the family that was the closest to us. Why? Well, because it's the culture of this cult. They do not come up to your face and tell you not to speak to your family anymore. No, they don't do that. But you understand because you are so brainwashed 3 times a week that you are now part of an elite group, of a group of people that think differently, live differently, and have a whole different goal in life. And those other people in your family, well, you don't have anything in common with them anymore. And the more distance you put between you and them, the more protected you are going to be. So it does affect a person. And it did affect us. And the rest of the family was not exactly the same after that. But it got worse in my case. My brother got married to a born-in Jehovah's Witness. And when it came time to invite his family members, well, there was a big problem. The big problem was that one of the only 2 cousins that I have on my mother's side, well, I have a female cousin and a male cousin. The male cousin was married, guess what? Out of everything in the world. He was married to an ex-Jehovah's Witness, to a young woman that had been disfellowshipped and actually had no intention whatsoever to come back to this religion. Well, maybe she knew some things we didn't know back then, right? So my brother had a problem here. His only cousin, male cousin on his mother's side. We have plenty of other cousins on our father's side, okay? But actually we were never close to them as much as we were to the 2 cousins on my mother's side. So his only male cousin, which he grew up with, they are 10 months apart. They grew up together. Well, guess what? He asked advice to the elders, and you've guessed it, the elders advised him not to invite his own cousin because he's married to a disfellowship woman. So guess what happened after that? Well, my uncle and his wife, what did they do? Well, in support to their son, they didn't come to the wedding, and they were probably disgusted. They didn't want to come to the wedding anymore. On the very morning of my brother's wedding, we were at his apartment getting ready. And my brother received a call. It was my other cousin, his sister. Guess why she called? Well, she called to let my brother know that she and her husband were not coming to the wedding either. Since that day, we lost everyone. I've lost my uncle and my aunt, his wife, and I've lost my 2 cousins. And guess what? Even though I am not in this stupid religion for almost 12 years now, it's going to be 12 years at the end of this year, I have never seen or spoken to them since. Because, it's not because I'm not a witness anymore that I can go and knock on their door and say, hey, I'm not a witness anymore. Do you want to speak to me now? No, that's not how it works. So if you are not a Jehovah's Witness, if you are an adult or a teenager thinking about getting baptized and you do not have any family or very little family in this religion and the rest of your family is not a witness, think about this. If you lose your family members because you are a Jehovah's Witness, and believe me, there are going to be plenty of reasons to lose them, like it happened to us. Well, remember that even if you leave this religion, you may never be able to speak to them or see them again. So, yes, indeed, Jehovah's Witnesses do break up families very, very badly. Number three, Bethelites were no longer needed or let go with zero compensation, zero financial compensation. When you work for a corporation in the world, well, guess what? At the very least, you are going to get a retirement. Wherever country you're from, you are going to get whatever retirement arrangement you have. And in most cases, if you are let go, you haven't done anything, you just let go because they don't need you anymore, you are going to get a financial support for you to have lost your job. But when it comes to working at Bethel, well, first of all, you're working for free like a slave. You're thinking you're working for God, but you're really working for a corporation that has pretty much hired you to work for free. So when you leave, you get zero retirement. And that's also whatever country you are at Bethel from. And if you are let go because they don't need you anymore, well, that's the same thing. They will let you go with zero financial compensation. There is a very sad story that was told a long time ago by an ex-Bethelite. He actually left Bethel and left this religion because he had observed so many disgusting things at Bethel. So this ex-Bethelite left Bethel and he was telling a story that happened a long time ago, like late 60s, early 70s. So that ex-Bethelite was from way before the internet, but he was already telling stuff against this religion. So one sad story that he wrote about was another Bethelite that he knew. And this Bethelite was getting older already. He had been at Bethel for 40 years, for pretty much his whole adult life. But he also observed some things that he did not like at Bethel at all. And what he did is that he opened his mouth about it. So guess what? Because he did open his mouth, well, the governing body, those loving brothers, decided to let him go. And obviously, they let him go with zero financial compensation. Well, guess what happened to that brother not too long after that? Well, one morning he was found dead on a public bench in New York City because he was homeless. That's how he was paid for having spent 40 years to work for free for this loving organization, this loving religion. And that story was one of the stories that made that other Bethelite leave this religion and then write about the things that he had observed. What a loving religion. Number two, they shun. Now, if you ask bluntly to a Jehovah's Witness, whether you're a journalist or anyone, if you ask a Jehovah's Witness, do you shun? They will take all kind of curves and detours not to tell you, yes, we do. But they know they do. The reason why they have troubles saying it to someone who's not a witness, it's because they know it's bad. Deep down inside, they know it's bad. So that's why they have a problem admitting it bluntly. But among themselves, they do, because among themselves, they do know very well that they shun. You see, anything among Jehovah's Witnesses, friendship, love, anything like that is conditional. And when they say this is not true, yes, it is conditional, because the condition for them to love you or to consider you as a friend is that you are a Jehovah's Witness. But if you are a Jehovah's Witness who leaves or disfellowship, it doesn't matter for what reason you're gone. If you're no longer a Jehovah's Witness, that love, that friendship, it's gone. And you are not as good as dead, you are worse than as good as dead. Why worse? Because when someone dies, you still love them. You still have plenty of pictures of them in your house. You still go maybe pay your respect to them. But when you're disfellowshipped, even if you were never disfellowshipped, as long as you're gone, you are no longer remembered even. There is no picture of you in their house. They do not respect you anymore in any shape or form. As a matter of fact, because in their mind, if Armageddon came today or tomorrow, you'll be destroyed, they are already starting to forget you as if you, not if you were dead, as if you never existed. What a loving religion. And number one, they do not protect children against pedophiles. In the head of this governing body, made of old men that are so detached from normal life, they are stubbornly sticking to their guns, saying that for a pedophile to be taken into account, there needs to be two witnesses to their crime. As we know, a pedophile is not going to wait for a witness to witness his sick crime. So, for most cases, well, a child that is going to report a pedophile is not going to have a witness. And unfortunately, when sometimes a second child come to the elders reporting the same pedophile as another child has reported few years earlier, they still don't do anything about it. And if you don't believe me, there is a documentary of two sisters that happened to them. Their father had molested sexually the older sister for years. The older sister came to the elders, and because the elders shut their mouth, never said anything, not even to the family, well, the younger sister, the younger daughter, also became a victim of that awful pedophile. And that could have been avoided if Jehovah's Witnesses were truly a loving group and report a pedophile as soon as they are reported by a child or another adult. But because this is not a loving group, this is not a loving religion, they do not report pedophiles. They do not protect not only their children, the children in their religion, but at the same time, if you're not a Jehovah's Witness, they are putting your children at risk as well. Because no police of your city or town knows that you may be living nearby a pedophile if this pedophile is a Jehovah's Witness. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video and that you'll remember that this group of Jehovah's Witnesses who believes they are the most loving group on the planet is not that loving after all. Thank you for listening. Please like the video, share it, comment, and I'll see you on my next video. Bye bye now.